Hey, welcome to another video from the Outdoor Analyst. Today I've got a fun one for you. Today we're talking about fixed blade EDC knives and kind of just wanted to go over my history, my past with actually carrying around a fixed blade as my EDC for years and years and years. And I have to say I've had mostly positive experiences with it. And the fact is that I really just don't do it anymore. I'm just going to throw it out there. I think they're really cool. They're fun. They definitely are exciting. Oh, I got a squeaky chair if you heard that. But I just don't do it anymore because they don't really give a lot of benefits versus a really nice folding knife. And I kind of came down to the differences between comfort in the pocket versus ergonomics of these fantastic little knives. And the truth is that the ergonomics of the fixed blade, even against their counterparts as folders, the fixed blade always won. These were way more comfortable in the hand. This is a Bark River Ultralight Bushcrafter. Got an LT Wright JX3. Man, this thing is just so ergonomic and comfortable. It was well designed, super nice. And then a Mora Eldris, and holy cow, is this little thing awesome. Totally tiny, totally useful, which I am actually kind of shocked over, especially throughout the years. So my first experience with a fixed blade that I decided to actually carry as an EDC was actually the Mora Eldris. I thought this thing was super tiny. It was so fun when it came out. As soon as this came out, I bought this. I think the only one available was in green, and I thought, well, totally worth it. I don't even care. I'm just going to do it, even though it kind of looks like snot green. As soon as I got it in, I thought, there's got to be a better way to carry this. And I ended up putting a Night Eyes, just kind of pocket clip on there. Just glued it on, and this thing stayed on there for years. It's years and years and years. Ever since this has come out, it's 2020. When this come out, like, I don't know, 2016 or something, 2017. Whenever it did, these things were great. I've had it ever since. I've used this thing on multiple backpacking trips. And as far as EDC goes, this was actually really nice. I kept it and used this for about a year as an EDC. And the reason why I ended up liking it so much is because usually fixed blades are huge in comparison. But when you put this in the pocket, I guess I should put clip to clip here, they're actually fairly similar. The depth in your pocket was almost the same. And that's what counts. Yes, this much stuck out. I was wearing jeans or cargos and usually had a shirt to cover it, and it was no big deal, especially wearing it in winter. So comfort of this one was actually really nice, but in the end, I just kind of liked better steels. Even though this is S30V on the Benchmade bug out, nothing amazing. It always held up better than, the Sandvik 12CE27 that Mora uses. Great steel, super easy to sharpen. This one's thin and slicey. But day in and day out, comfort in the pocket just won out. I ended up not using that as much. Then, after a few years, I kind of got into some really nice little fixed blades. And then I'm going out of order, but the Bark River Bushcrafter, Ultralight Bushcrafter came along. This thing's actually really thin, really ergonomic. Still get a full 4-finger grip on it. Much nicer to do heavy work with. I think it's even nicer to do just like kitchen tasks with. And I just loved it. But the difference between this one, and even though I'll pull out the Mora, was this was a ton to have in the pocket. And here's your size difference because it's clip versus what you can hide. And that's how much longer this thing was in the pocket. That's a long distance. And I was able to I can put this in a pocket, but it fills up the entire jean, and I have to cant it to make sure that it's actually going to be concealed and not out of the way. And sometimes if it slides down, this part actually shows a bit. So it's just a lot to have in there. I mean, versus, here we go. Let's pull out the Benchmade. That is just so much more space. But this thing is super cool, super ergonomic, and was just a lot of fun. And I thought, man, that's just a little long. Let's see if I can just shorten it down. So then I pulled out the JX3 and thought, man, this would be a great little pocket carry. It's kind of short. It's a little fat. And that's where this one kind of ended. If I got a different sheath for it, it might work a little better. But the fact is that it's just really fat in the pocket, and it's really bulges and shows. This one does a little bit, but not nearly as much as this one. So much thicker. Just look at it. I mean, that's just kind of crazy on the difference. Liked how short this was in comparison, but it's just not the same. It just wasn't really doable, and that was kind of the sad part of it. And then when I thought, yeah, but I can do so much more. It's got such a nice blade. Here's just a pair of a PM2, Spyderco PM2. It's got the same blade. Blade length, exactly the same. Yeah, CPM 3V versus S30V. Yeah, the 3V is going to be way tougher. Less stainless, as this does patina when I'm doing kitchen work with it, but you pretty much get the exact same cutting power in reality on a folder as you do with the fixed blade. Now, the one difference is every time I've pulled out one of these really cool fixed blades in front of somebody, this one is so harmless. They're just like, oh, that's cute. They don't really freak out at all because, one, it's a cool greeny color. It's tiny. It looks like a baby knife. And they're like, oh, how cool. You sort of get a little different look when you pull out one of these. They're like, oh, man, that's a real fixed blade. Even though size-wise, they're fairly similar. This isn't that much bigger. It's just a little bit bigger. But, you kind of get that extra look. But then they see, oh, man, that's a really nice handle. And that's kind of the comment that they'll give. Like, man, that looks really nice. What is that? And you're like, it's because it's desert ironwood. And you get to talk a little bit about it, and you usually have a nice positive conversation. Same thing with this one. Every time I pull it out, it is a fixed blade that instantly freaks people out. And then they see just kind of how gorgeous it is. And you get questions like, wow, what on earth is that? And sometimes it's more of a, what on earth is that? But you should kind of show it to them, and instantly they're like, man, that's gorgeous. And that kind of ends that conversation. They're almost always positive in the end. So that is definitely a benefit. Whereas you pull out, here's just a pair of 3, oh man, start cutting food in the kitchen, this at work. It's way more tactical looking, and you'll never get that sort of, oh, that's just gorgeous sort of conversation. Even a bug out. The colors on it are happy and nice, but they still usually don't end up with, oh, that's a nice conversation of, what a gorgeous knife. I'm glad you brought that out and showed it to me. That never happens with a bug out. Never happens with any folder because they just seem, just that whole idea, that sound and the action freaks people out. So that is a benefit of carrying these around. Truth is, I no longer carry these in the pocket. I carry these in my bag going into work, or I put these actually on my belt, or just throw them in a backpack when I'm going squirrel hunting, or as a backpack for field dressing. One or the other. That's how I carry these now, except for the Eldris. The Moore goes backpacking with me all the time. Every time I'm going on a backpacking trip, this is the knife I take. It's never failed me, and I've never needed more than that type of blade out in the woods for 3 days, believe it or not. I do take a saw with me, though, and that makes up for everything. Now, what are the limitations of a fixed blade in the pocket? This is a new knife to me, but as of testing it out today, hanging around with in-pocket work, this is the limitation. This is too big. Basically, the limitation is something the size of an ultralight bushcrafter. That length is as long as I could ever go. That width in the pocket is about as wide as I can go as far as, I guess, height, I should say, and then width as well. Width is actually good. This is a SE3, S35VN. Just started kind of testing, working around with this. It seems like it'd be pretty close in size, but it's too big. It's just that it just edges it out just enough that it's just too big to pocket carry. So just kind of an idea, just a heads up, if you're thinking, ooh, I've got a nice SE3, there's no way, unless you're just gigantic and your jeans are 10 times the size of the average human. It's not going to happen. So there you go. I hope that gives you kind of a little bit of my history on carrying these, why I switched to pretty much nothing but folding knives as far as EDC, where I will actually carry a small fixed blade, whether it's backpacking, squirrel hunting, just a backup knife. They work great for that. And then the limitations of how big is too big, and that's as far as I can really go with them. So there you go. I hope this helped you out. If you're thinking about doing it, it's cool. It's a great idea. Even though I think I'm having a lot of fun when I actually do carry these in the pocket, I always end up going back to a folder just from convenience. It's just the way it is. It's the way life works. Usually convenience wins out. So there you go. If you think you can carry something bigger, go for it. Just be warned. I wouldn't waste your money if you're actually going to do it, because guess what? Most likely you're going to get over the joy of it and the cool factor, and then just go back to something like this. It is how it is. So there you go. Hope that helps. Have a great one. I'll catch you on the next video.